Good morning. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Deuteronomy chapter 28. This is going to be 68 verses. So, yeah. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth, and all these blessings shall come on thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Blessed shall thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shall thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way, and flee before thee seven ways. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. The Lord shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. And all the people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head, and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath, if that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, or to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until you perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven it shall come down upon thee, until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee seven ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch, whereof thou canst not be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with madness, and blindness, and astonishment of heart, and thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be openly oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. The sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed alway, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs, with the sore botch that cannot be healed, from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head. The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword, among all nations whither the Lord shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with oil, for thine olive shall cast its fruit. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor shew favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kine, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down wherein thou trustest throughout all thy land. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy God hath given thee in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave, so that he will not give to any of them the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children, which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for one of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God, then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in this book of law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, Would God it were even! And at even thou shalt say, Would God it were morning! For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Summarizing Deuteronomy chapter 28, Moses continues his extended farewell address to the second generation of Israel out of Egypt. These laws are given to help Israel establish their new kingdom in Canaan. In Deuteronomy chapter 27, Moses explicitly states the specific laws Israel needs to follow to avoid curses. Israel acknowledges that they understand. So now we're in Deuteronomy chapter 28, and he's giving out the blessings that you'll get if you obey these commands, also the cursings that you'll get. Because it's 68 verses, I'm going to try to show what I'm reading, but verses 1 through 14. If you obey God and adhere to his commands, he will set you up high above all earthly nations. You will be overtaken by blessings. You will be blessed in the city and the field, the fruit of your womb, and the cattle, the increase of herds, and the increase of young flock will occur. You will be blessed in your basket and blessed in your kneading bowl. You will be blessed when you come in and blessed when you go out. The enemies that rise against you will be defeated in your observable presence. Enemies will approach you in one way and flee from you in 7 ways. You'll be blessed in your barns and all that you do. Your land will be blessed. You'll be a holy and established holy people, known and respected. You will abound in prosperity from your womb, livestock, ground, in the land that God promised your forefathers. God will open his good treasury, the heavens, to give rain to your land, to bless all the work of your hands. You will lend to many nations, but never borrow. You'll be the head, but not the tail. You'll only go up, but not down. You will only experience this if you keep God's command and don't worship any other gods. And 15 through the end details specifically horrific things that will happen to Israel if they don't obey these commands. You will be cursed in the city and the field, cursed in your basket and in your kneading bowl. Cursed will be the fruit of your womb and the fruit of the ground. You will be cursed with the increase of your herds and young flock. Cursed when you come in, cursed when you go out. God will send you curses, confusion, frustration, and all you do until you are destroyed. You will perish quickly because of your evil deeds. Pestilence will stick to you until you're consumed off the land. You'll be struck with wasting disease, fever, inflammation, fiery heat, drought, blight, mildew. These things will pursue you until you're perished. So the word blight is a plant disease. Browning than death of plant tissues. And see, it does this to your plants. So you won't be able to produce any fruit. The heavens over you will feel like bronze, and the earth will feel like iron. Your rain will be a powder. Heaven's dust will come down on you until you're destroyed. You'll be defeated before your enemies, going against them 1 way, fleeing from them 7 ways. You'll be a horror to all the kingdoms on earth. Your dead body will be meat for animals, and no one will wave the animals away. God will strike you with the boils of Egypt, tumors, scabs, itch, which cannot be healed. You'll get blindness, madness, confusion of mind. You will grope or stumble in the day as the blind do at night. You will not be prosperous, but opposed and robbed continually. There will be no help. Verse 30. This is actually in these translations. Because it says that in Deuteronomy 28, verse 30, one of the curses that will happen if Israel doesn't follow these commands, the men of Israel will go to be engaged to a wife, and another man will sexually assault her. So, unfortunately, virginity, we still see it today. Virginity is part of the package of a woman, and that's part of why they got engaged to her. The trade off was she was a virgin, she didn't have to work, and the man provided until she died. That was the setup. So it taking the woman's virginity was like, I mean, I hate to say it's like ruining her, but it's the thing that a man that was supposed to enjoy honorably. It's taken now. So, and on top of that, we that's how that's looked at. So I just want to look at Deuteronomy 28, verse 30. I just want to make sure of what it says here because I didn't look this up until now in the interlinear. The other thing, I didn't read this from the King James first. I read it from the New International Version first. So it says here, another man shall lie with her. You shall betroth the wife, and another man shall lay with her. Now, I also want to say that the Bible does not say anything about virginity here. I'm just telling you this is the idea, is that you shall betroth the wife, she's supposed to be a virgin, and then another man will take her. So that's, again, the Bible is not saying that in this verse, but I'm just telling you, based on the other information that we've read, it's part of it. I want to be as sensitive as possible because sexual assault is something that is so common that you have to make sure you're being sensitive, but I just want to also be informative. So, you'll build a house, but you'll never live in it. You'll plant a vineyard, but never enjoy the fruit. Your ox will be killed in front of you, but you won't get to eat it. Your donkey will be taken. Okay, that's what it meant when it says yeah, be taken before your face, and there'll never be any justice. Your sheep will be given away and won't be restored. Your children will be given away, and you'll be helpless. A nation that you don't know will consume your crops and the results of your labor. You will be crushed continually. You will be driven mad by what you see. You'll be driven mad by what you see. I said that weird. The Lord will strike you on your knees and your legs with boils that are grievous, that won't heal, and this will be from your head to your feet. You and your king will be brought to a stranger's nation. You'll serve gods of wood and stone. You'll become a horror, a proverb, a byword among the people where the Lord will leave you away to. You'll carry a lot of seed to the field, but reap little, because the locusts will eat them. The worms will eat your vineyards. Your olive trees won't produce fruit, they will drop off. You'll have kids, but they'll go into captivity. Locusts will eat your trees and fruit. The non-Israelite that lives among you, or the stranger that lives among you, will rise higher and higher. You'll come down lower and lower. He will lead to you, but you won't lend to him. He will lend to you, you won't lend to him. He will be the head, you will be the tail, Israel. 45. All these curses that come upon you and pursue you and overtake you. This will happen until you are destroyed because you did not obey God and follow his commands. They will be a sign against you and your offspring forever. You'll serve your enemies in hunger, thirst, nakedness, lacking everything. He will put a yoke of iron on you until you are destroyed. A fierce, faraway nation whose language you don't understand will not respect the old or show mercy to the young. They will eat your cattle's offspring and crops until you're destroyed. The fierce nation will not leave you any grain, wine, oil, herds, or flock until they have caused you to perish. This fierce, faraway nation will attack you in all your towns. Until your high and fortified walls come down throughout your land. You will eat your children's flesh. So that's something. You eat the fruit of your womb because you're suffering, the enemy will inflict. You eat the flesh of your sons and daughters. And it's actually worse translation for the woman. It says that the man who is most tender and refined, he will be stingy with his food towards his brother, wife, and children because he's eating his own children that he has left. He has nothing else in the siege. Then you have the most refined woman among you, who's so delicate and tender. She will be stingy because she's going to be eating the afterbirth from her womb. She's going to be stingy with her food because she's eating afterbirth. This will happen because of the distress and attacks in your towns. This is 57. Look at the interlinear 57 to see if it says something similar. Her placenta refuse to the husband of her bosom and to her son and her daughter, the placenta which come out from between her feet and her children, for she will eat them. This sounds horrible. If you don't follow God's commands, you will get extraordinary afflictions, severe and lasting. You'll get all the sickness from Egypt. They will cling to you. Every sickness and affliction that is not recorded in the book, God will bring upon you until you're destroyed. Whereas you were numerous, you shall be left few in number, because you did not obey God. Every sickness and every disease will be brought unto you until you're destroyed. The way God delighted in multiplying you, he will delight in destroying you. You will be plucked off the land. 64. God will scatter you among all peoples. You'll serve foreign, unfamiliar gods of wood and stone. You won't have your own territory. You will have anxiety, trembling heart, failing eyes, despair, and sorrow of mind. You will dread day and night because of your dread and what you have to witness. You'll be brought back to Egypt as slaves, a journey I promised you'd never have to make. There, you'll offer yourselves as slaves for sale, and there will be no buyer. Afterbirth? She's going to eat her afterbirth? What's really disturbing is because I have seen people online making placenta recipes. Oh, it's packed with nutrients. It's like it's not even flesh. It's not an organ. I was excited to read this chapter because of another YouTuber who mentioned this as being a really good chapter. I'm not going to say anything about her again because every time I interact with her platform, it's this weird shade. And it's weird because I've got 10 years on her, but whatever. I know when I'm not wanted. You don't have to worry about me saying anything else about you. And the last time I said a slogan that she says all the time, and the last video that I watched of her, instead of her saying it, she put it in a text box. So it's just like, I don't want to be negative, but this platform can be very, very strange sometimes. You would think that someone is way more accomplished than you, and they say, hey, like, comment, subscribe, interact with my content. And then when you do, it's like, no, not you. That's okay. Few there be that find it. Few there be, narrow is the way. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. I love you, and I am going to take this makeup off. Have a good day.